Simon Doull joins us. Doully, so you've been doing the 10s. Where is it and what is it?
Abu Dhabi T10, Marty, so it's the shortest official format of cricket at the moment. So it's supposed to be done in sort of 45 minutes per innings, 45 to 50 minutes per innings. Short and sharp, 2 games today and then 3 games for the rest of the next, 10 days of the tournament. So she's all over and done with inside of 11 to 12 days, which is nice, but a bit of fun.
So who's playing in it then?
Gosh, mate, all of the usual suspects, I suppose, when you think about who plays the short format games around the world, the Pollards, the Andre Russells, Sonny on the Rhines, a lot of the English guys, the sort of the next tier down English guys, I suppose you'd say, the Luke Woods, Tom Kohler-Cadmore, who had a great outing today, Quinton de Kock's here, Trent Bolt played today, James Neesham, Colin Munro, action today, so a few kids floating around as well.
Okay, and so 10 overs, so how many do you bowl?
2 overs apiece. If you go for under 10s or around about 10, 11 and over, you've actually done a pretty good job. Average sort of scores in that 120, 125 mark. You're close to winning a lot of games. But, we have seen some mammoth scores at different times on certain pitches here in Abu Dhabi, so I think they'll get better as the tournament goes on. But one was good enough to win the first game today, and 103 was good enough to win the second game. So a bit of a low-scoring day on day number 1.
So hang on a second, I'm just trying to get my head around this. So we've got Test cricket. Okay, let's park that. Now the shortened forms of the game, we've got the 50-over game because we just had the One Day World Cup, of course. You were there in India for that. And then we've got T20. Then we've got the 100s. Now we've got 10s, which is effectively just 60 balls each.
Yep, exactly, mate. So now there's another form. So the guy that sort of started this one over here in Abu Dhabi, Shaji Ulmuk, he's taken it to Zimbabwe now. Zimbabwe got a T10 comp there. There's one in the US earlier this year as well. There's one in Sri Lanka. So he's got 3 or 4 tournaments around the world at the moment. And, looking to sort of, I guess, move into more areas.
All right, other cricket to talk about before we get on to Liverpool, who are going to win the title this year, aren't they? I mean, I know you know that, but you're fearing the resurgence of the red side of Manchester, and I can feel you quaking from this distance already. Before we even get on to Bangladesh versus New Zealand, another Maxwell masterclass last night, the T20 series, India versus Australia. I'm finding it difficult to get interested in this because we have just had the One Day World Cup. But when a guy hits another innings like that, like I remember 201 we all do against Afghanistan, and that was off 128 balls. But the remarkable thing, 21 fours, 10 sixes, so 144 off 31. And then he does it again overnight, 104 not out off 48, 8 fours, 8 sixes, so 80 off boundaries. 43 runs, Dory. I know I'm peppering you with stats here, but 43 runs off the last 2 overs in a T20 game. And it's not like he's just swinging the bat. He's actually hitting these shots.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable of late, hasn't he? It's a funny thing. It's the wrong word to use, Marty, but you notice with some people when life off the field, off the court, off the pitch, whatever you want to call it, in any sport, any format of the game we play, and any sport we play, when life off the ground or off your sporting arena is in check and everything's nice and calm and, baby born in the last year and a half, everything off the park is going great for him. It's just sort of transferring onto the field. He's just enjoying his cricket. He's had that time off. He spoke quite openly about the mental health issues and needing to take time away from the game. And he just seems to have come back in a really good frame of mind. Everything in his life seems to be cruising along quite nicely at the moment. And he's really loving his cricket. His bowling was exceptional in the first half of that World Cup for Australia. He was probably the key bowler in that first sort of 4 or 5 games. And then the batting certainly came right at certain times as well. So he's just a cricketer who seems to be really relishing where he's at the moment, on and off the field. And he's reaping rewards. And, you can look at that Indian bowling attack and say it is not their best bowling attack, but that's what they're going to have to move forward with in the next few years outside of Siraj. who probably would bolt back into that side. It's what they're going to have to move forward with because, Shami's not going to be around for the next World Cup, probably not the next T20. Bournemouth maybe only got one more left in him. So, it's still a decent bowling attack that he's plundering to all parts.
What happens to the one-day cricket now in the world, mate, after the World Cup? Do we just park it and shelve it? I know you got series and that happened in England, but the 50-over game, where does it fit in?
Yeah, look, it struggles to fit in. A T20 World Cup coming up next year, so there'll be a lot more T20 games played. I would think next year you'll see sides playing very little ODI cricket leading into that World Cup in the US and the West Indies, and then whether they build up to a Champions Trophy and play a little bit more. I don't see anywhere near as much of it being played in the next 3, 4, 5 years, even leading into a World Cup year. I don't like it as such, but it just becomes played a lot less in the next few years, and particularly next year leading into that T20 World Cup. But it's not going to be parked. It's
just not as relevant, or is there just no time for it?
I think time and boards and money. Test cricket costs the most money. It costs boards more and more money, and that's why a lot of the sort of boards ranked 7, 8, 9 are reluctant to play it. Ireland game test status, they don't even have a first-class structure. Zimbabwe's first-class structure is struggling. Sri Lanka's structure is not quite what it once was. So West Indies is much the same. So, it costs so much for a board to put on a test match. It costs, probably 1/5 of that to put on a T20, and it makes twice as much money as a 5-day test would ever make. So you think about the cost per minute of television, and T20 just makes sense to all the boards now. And is it right? Absolutely not in my mind, but it just seems to be the way these things are going, and boards are all about making money and keeping the game alive. And, with all these things happening in the world at the moment where pay parity is coming in for the women's and the men's game, we've got to remember that someone's got to prop that up, because at the moment, particularly in New Zealand, the women's game doesn't make any money. And so the New Zealand Cricket Board has to subsidise every bit of money that comes out of the men's game to pay for the women's game. And so how do they do that? They make money by playing T20 cricket. And so I can understand why it will happen. But I'm not saying I agree with the principles around it.
Simon Doull is with us. We've got a lot of cricket to talk. Black Caps off to the MCG 26-27. I know it's a long way away. It's 3 years away. It's hard to get, for me to get excited about something that's going to happen in 3 years. Good God. Who only knows what life is going to even look like in 3 years' time. But going back to the MCG, should we look forward to this, or should we accept the reality of what happened last time, where we got absolutely thrashed in all 3 tests?
Well, we built up to the last one. I think we thought we probably had our best side in a long, long time going there.
Well, we thought so.
With the likes of Bolt and Southey and Wagner in good form, and we felt our batters were in the best sort of frame of mind to go to Australia and test that Australia. And, we fell over. Tim Southey was cooked after Perth after bowling too many overs. They played Wagner in Perth, and he only lasted 10 overs when he should have played... not Wagner, Ferguson should have played against in the series at home. It didn't really mean much against England leading into that series. So they did a lot of things wrong going to Australia in the that last tour. Should we look forward to it? We should always be able to look forward to a Boxing Day Test match at the MCG, and it's something that very few players get to play in the history of New Zealand cricket. So it's something we should look forward to, but I don't think we should be overhyping it or building it up too much. And maybe they'll surprise us if we don't do that.
Doully, this week was, and I've been talking about it for the last couple of days, the anniversary of Philip Hughes' death. It happened in 2014. It seems a long time ago now, doesn't it? And remember all the outpouring at the time, and the Australian cricketers were adamant they were going to change themselves, their attitudes, the way they play, the way they treat the opposition, all of that. Has anything really changed in 9 years, or do you think they've even gone backwards?
I think things probably changed behind the scenes a little bit. I mean, obviously with Pat Cummins being appointed the new captain, they wanted a more of a clean-cut image to lead Australia. I think he's certainly that type of player. You can't change the fabric of what Australian cricket is. and what it has been, and it's something that I've admired, at times over many, many years. They played a game in a very tough, uncompromising way, and we've seen that recently with the World Cup. They are winners. They believe they can win from every situation. Do they cross the line at times? Absolutely. But I'm not saying I haven't crossed the line at times, or some New Zealand players haven't crossed the line at times as well. So have they changed? Not dramatically, but I think there has been some changes in some of the behaviours in and around that side. So, I'll give them a little bit of credit.
Bangladesh, 3-10 for 9. We're quite surprised Santner not in and Ravindra left out as well.
A little bit. Back to how much red ball cricket is Ish Sodhi playing. I know they're looking at Phillips and saying, well, he can do the job, and he's proven the fact that he can do the job. So, you've got a batter bowling plenty of overs in your top 5, 6 that can get the job done. I don't think you need 4 spinners. Mitchell Santner hasn't really been on the radar of Test match cricket for quite some time. I don't think he's half the red ball bowler that he is the white ball bowler, and he doesn't play enough first-class cricket. He never has. He's never played a lot of 4-day cricket to learn how to be that Test match type bowler. So, not surprised in him being left out at all, to be honest. I just think I don't think it would have been the right decision to play him ahead of Ish or Ajaz Patel.
Finally then, as I said right at the beginning, let's go back to your Reds and my Reds, mate. I mean, what a goal by Garnacho. Are we back? That's 5 wins out of 6 for my lot, and you're challenging top of the table.
Yeah, unbelievable goal. I've got to say, credit where credit's due. It was special. A huge point for us, obviously going away at Man City. It looks finally. We've been wanting a tight race for some time. You want 3, 4, 5 teams to be involved, come to, later in the year to Christmas time, and you want to get excited about the EPL again. And, for a few years there, we kind of probably weren't overly excited about it because it just seemed to be a 1 or a 2 horse race for a long period of time. And, you and I know we're passionate about our teams, and you're more so than I am, but we still want to see competitive football. And I think we're probably seeing that, and we're seeing, teams that can beat anyone in that top 5, 6, 7, and even further down at times. So I'm never going to say what you want me to say because I know you want me to say it. But do you believe you guys are going to win?
No, and I'll say it out loud. No chance, mate. Look, I'll take another squeak into a top 4. Absolutely. At the moment, mate, I think we're actually level goal difference as well. I'll even take that. I just take every win these days. That's where we are.
Every win's a bonus, you think?
Yeah, totally, mate. No.
Yeah. It's got that way for you a little bit, hasn't it, of late? But look, you're playing better football, and I think I think that's a good sign. That's all you want, isn't it? As a supporter of any team, and even when your team's mid-table or not going too well, you just want to see them play some entertaining football. I think we're back to playing it. You might be back to playing it, and let's hope it sort of it transpires, and we do get a great league in the next sort of 2 to 3 months.
Thanks, Simon, mate.
Devlin.
Appreciate it.
Down goes Fraser. Down goes Fraser.
The Platform.